This commission together tonight. Welcome to the first hearing, first meeting of 2026. I'd also like to welcome our new commissioner, James Small, or Jim, I guess he would be known as.
Yep, Jim, I go by Jim.
And so we're here to begin with the roll call for election of officer, but we could start with a roll call. Commissioner Patrick? Commissioner Connolly?
Here.
Commissioner Jarrett?
Here.
Commissioner Bittner?
Here.
Commissioner Patrick?
Here.
Commissioner Munson is not here. Commissioner Streifel?
Here.
Commissioner Small?
Here.
Did I get everybody?
No.
Oh, Commissioner Connolly.
No.
Sorry, Commissioner Risch.
Here.
Okay, and Connolly is here. And, sorry, okay, Commissioner Connolly?
You're still retired.
No. Here?
I'm here twice.
Sorry. Commissioner Patrick.
Yep.
I mean, Agnew.
Agnew? Yes, here.
Agnew. Good enough? Yeah. Should be gone to the 20th. Maybe longer. So we're going to have the election of officers. I'd like to see a nomination for chair. So we could entertain a motion for chairman for 2026.
I would like to nominate
Commissioner Patrick.
Second.
Who seconded? Connolly.
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Agnew.
I'd second.
Mitch,
Yes.
I think I would just prefer to remove my name from the chair's position and maybe remain where I'm at.
Oh, okay,
Okay,
that's fine.
that's easy. Do we have so Agnew was Commissioner Jarrett? Who seconded that? Streifel. Entertain another motion? Another name? No? Okay, so we'll do a roll call. Commissioner Small, are you in favor of, this will be in favor of Chair Patrick to continue for 2026?
Sure.
Okay.
Agnew.
Agnew.
I knew what he meant.
So I could be, let's go all in favor. I think it would be easier. So,
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
all opposed? Okay.
Congratulations, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so I'll hand it over to Commissioner Patrick, the chair.
No,
Agnew.
Agnew.
Jiminy.
Either way, just don't call me late for lunch. Yeah. All right. I would like to open nominations for vice chair.
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Patrick.
Second. Okay. Commissioner Patrick, do you accept? Okay. All right. Any further nominations? Okay. Hearing none, can I entertain a motion for unanimous ballot?
So moved.
Second.
All right. All in favor of unanimous ballot?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? All right.
Sure, I just want to explain,
yes.
I just want to explain the reason I withdrew, because I am going to have a shoulder surgery coming up, and that's going to,
Mess you up.
Yeah.
so,
Well, good luck.
Yeah.
That's only a month.
well,
We hope, right?
yeah, it's actually 2 months.
Okay, we will move into the approval of the December 10th meeting, 2025 minutes. They
I'll
are
move-
in our packet.
I'll move their approval.
I'll second.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded for approval of the December 10th, 2025 minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, minutes are approved. Okay, we have come to the portion of the agenda where we will entertain public comment. So if anyone would have public comment, please come to the lectern and let us know. And please let us know who you are.
Well, I think most people know me. My name's Robert Field. And I was reading through, some of the proposed changes to zoning. How many people sitting here know where a woman hides her areola? Do I see hands? Okay, one. Areola. That's in your ordinance. It talks about sodomy, it talks about masturbation. Now, not to point out the obvious, because I see some of you guys look kind of shocked. That means you didn't read it. That means you should never pass it. I mean, you look at it, I sit on the city planning and zoning. Now, the city has a lot of rules I disagree with there. But it seems like we've even gone further down insane path. I mean, I got 30 pages in, and I realized I had to quit reading it or I'd have to call 911 because my head was going so far up my butt I couldn't breathe. So whoever made that obviously didn't realize you're a rural county. And with that being said, I don't think anybody on county zoning or the county commission should live in the city limits because of the fact that the people in the county are the ones eating it. I see that I went from 10 chickens, though, to 30,000. Can anybody explain that one? I can have 30,000 chickens now with a stroke of approval? That's total insanity. So I think whoever proposed this should have to read all 95 pages publicly, on camera, for the public. Because there's no sanity to it. You don't have a strip joint in Burleigh County. But if you were going to say we want to act sane and allow a strip joint, what would be reasonable? A couple miles from a school, a couple miles from a daycare, not next door to a church or a mosque? Okay, it could be out in the middle of nowhere. But this zoning makes no sense. Not for a rural county. If you guys want to make Burleigh County Bismarck, fire everybody on the county zoning and just hand it over to Bismarck. Because that's what this does. And I guarantee no one's read this whole thing. You read enough of it, but you missed the... Okay, well, where the woman hides that, it's a dark spot around her nipple. But I knew I'd catch everybody on that one because it shocked me when I seen it in there.
So we will, just a one thought here is that, we will be having a hearing on that in the hearing portion. So, I mean, if you want to speak on it there too, you sure can.
What, do you think you can publicly have somebody read the whole thing on camera?
I don't believe we're going to do that, but yes, if someone would like to, has any issue with it, they can bring it up in the hearing, absolutely.
But that would seem reasonable because not everybody has access to it. You aren't printing the whole thing in the Tribune. So how, there's people that don't have internet. I mean, I do, obviously. So how do you inform the public? Can they call you and order a printed copy?
Mr. Chair,
As far, yes, Mitch?
the agenda is published on our website.
If you have internet.
Yeah, and we also have copies at our office for anybody to come pick it up.
Okay, well, I suggest a lot of people should get it and read it. But I think there's a lot more common sense approach to zoning than matching the city.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to have any input on the public comment section? Anyone else? Okay, we will move into the consent agenda for the Coomer Ranch subdivision. And is there any, I guess we should, let's go into this and we'll take a look at it. And if you could give us the details of it, Mitch?
Commissioners, this is recommend approval for a preliminary plat for the Coomer subdivision. It is a 5-acre outlot of a 40-acre parcel on Pleasant View Road. The legal description is Lot C, Block 00, C and L Estates subdivision. This is in Apple Creek Township. They do recommend approval. Don't have a very good attachment on 6.1.2. You can barely see it. The 5 acres is a northeast corner of that 40 acres. This is for a recommendation for a public hearing. So I would entertain a motion for approval.
Okay, any questions for Mitch at all? Okay, any discussion or action we would like to take on this?
Motion to schedule a public hearing.
Okay, there's been a motion for a public hearing from Commissioner Bittner, seconded by Commissioner Connolly. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none. The Coomer Ranch subdivision will move to public hearing. Thank you, Mitch. Okay, we will move into the public hearing portion of the agenda. On 7.1, we have the Amendment 21 for floodplain district, and that is a one-pager on page 10 of our agenda.
Right, Mr.
Or,
Chair.
excuse me,
this-
2 pages, yes.
Yeah, this was presented at last, December meeting. No changes were proposed, so it's kept the same, no differences. So it's basically a preamble at the beginning of our floodplain ordinances that have been handed down from Department of Water Resources. So,
All right, any questions for Mitch before we open the public hearing? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Mitch. We will open the public hearing to talk about the Amendment 21 floodplain district. If anyone would like to speak in this public hearing, please approach the lectern, let us know who you are, where you're from, and sign in. Anyone like to speak in this hearing? And last call to speak at the public hearing regarding Amendment 21 floodplain district. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing and move into action and decision on this amendment. Yep. Commissioner Small?
Well, I realize I'm kind of late to the party, but I guess I'm not sure what I'm looking at here, or what changes, or what's different, or I don't know anything about this, so
Yeah, and
somebody educate me, please.
I guess, Mitch, if you could,
it's basically stating that the legislature of North Dakota and the Century Code Title 40 has delegated responsibilities to jurisdictions of local governments to adopt regulations designed to promote public health, safety, and the general welfare of its citizenry. It's basically a preamble, like I said, to our Article 21 floodplain ordinances. At the very beginning. And so it's, we didn't have that in the front of it. Apparently, their legal staff created this and sent this out to all the jurisdictions in North Dakota.
So this doesn't really change anything.
No, our Article 21 stays exactly the same.
it just adds the underlined verbiage.
The rest of this book is what you're saying.
No, just these
Yeah,
2 pages.
floodplain.
Oh, this
Yeah,
part,
yeah.
it's on this page. Okay.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
All right, any discussion or action on the, on this Amendment 21 floodplain district?
Mr. Chair?
Can I-
Are we
yes.
just moving this to the county commission?
Correct.
Okay, so moved.
Yes. All right, Commissioner Streifel has a motion on the table or motion on the floor, excuse me, to send the Amendment 21 floodplain district with a do approve recommendation to the county commission. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, seconded by Commissioner Rich. Any discussion on the motion? Yeah, Commissioner Patrick.
Mitch, I have a question, or just a comment. The comment is on page 17, it's just a typo, which I caught when I read through this thing at
Oh,
home.
this is just on the floodplain district,
Oh,
just
yeah, okay.
this one.
I'm
Yep.
sorry. Yeah.
Any discussion on the motion? Okay, we will go into a roll call vote. Mitch, if you could walk us through a roll call vote on approval of Amendment 21 floodplain district for a due approval or a due pass recommendation to the county commission.
Okay, Commissioner Patrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Connolly,
Yes.
Commissioner Jett,
Yes.
Commissioner Bittner,
Yes.
Commissioner, did I say Jarrett already?
Yes, you just did.
Commissioner Munson? Not here. Commissioner Rich?
Yes.
Commissioner Streifel?
Yes.
Commissioner Small?
Yes.
Commissioner Agnew?
Yes. Okay. Amendment 21 floodplain district goes to the county commission with a due pass recommendation. We'll move into our second hearing of the night, and this is amendments to Article 3, 5, 7, 10, and 13. And Mitch, if you could kind of step us or give us a little bit of information of why we're considering this, and we will then open the hearing.
Okay. I don't like creating ordinances for no reasons at all, honestly, to limit the amount of ordinances we have. But we've been tasked through a change in our jurisdictional areas, basically the transfer areas of the city of Bismarck, the ETA. Everything in the hatch, I don't know if you can see the red hatched areas. That was former ETA area. The city of Bismarck is now in our jurisdiction. There's 310 subdivisions that were developed, and they were all developed to the city of Bismarck standards, not our rural standards. And so we are at the position of having to adopt ordinance that match what they've been approved. Otherwise, every house, every subdivision, every person's private residence is going to be out of conformance with Burleigh County ordinances. So we are tasked with adopting urban standards, and that's what these are all about. We copied most of the yellow are out of the city of Bismarck's ordinances with some changes that I've made to match more of the Burleigh County standards. So beginning with the first draft, ordinance 2603 is definitions. All the highlighted areas are going to be added to the Article 3. So the anything that is not highlighted is already in our ordinances. And the purpose of definitions are so that you do not make a mistake. And also, if there is a violation or there's something is out of conformance, you have something that can be defined. Now, the gentleman had spoken earlier about some of the anatomical definitions. Well, that is the reason for that is because you have to enforce our regulations for some of these. If somebody's conducting that type of business, we have an enforcement. We have the defined offense or whatever that they're doing wrong. We have it defined. And that's the purpose of that. So past that, if you have any questions on any of these pages, anything that's highlighted, I can certainly go through each one of them. They are not in our current ordinances. They're not in our current definitions. They do assist in expanding these definitions in case something comes up within this urban area.
Mitch, just a quick question. Are our ordinances, they're not retroactive though? So anything that is in place, I don't believe, anything that is in place now wouldn't necessarily have to be in compliance. It would be anything going forward, right? Or correct me if I'm wrong here.
Well, it's already been approved. You're talking about the areas in ETA?
Right, yes.
Yeah, they've already been approved. Basically, they're non-conforming unless we adopt these. And then we have a problem.
Right.
What if somebody wants to work in that subdivision, put an addition on their house, and we have just a rural RR subdivision with different setbacks, with differing lot coverages, with different size heights, all that.
Right. I guess the root of my question is say if none of this changed and none of the highlighted was adopted, you couldn't go back to anything that was in place and say, well, you're not conforming, now you need to change this or that. It's not retroactive, correct?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, that's what I wanted to be clear on.
Unless there's a violation, which there are violations that we're going to inherit because of this.
Sure. Yeah, Commissioner Benner, yeah.
Thanks. I should go into a little bit of detail about why we're doing this and how we got here. The point with looking at city ordinances that applies to things that were under the city ordinances to begin with is we want to make sure that there's no harm to citizens that, like say, built a house under this set of ordinances versus the county ordinances. So we're going to try to find some sort of balance between them. And that's what our job is. And I don't think we're going to accomplish it completely tonight because there's some things that are going to play into this. For example, if changing the county zoning ordinances and adding this to it, then without some of the other action, and I would suggest the action is to limit it to the existing map, but a whole bunch of stuff that has never impacted county jurisdiction would suddenly get impacted. So we got to make very sure that we're not stepping on the other ordinances while we're trying to help here. So, the definitions and whatnot, I think Commissioner Patrick pointed out something, and we'll have to get into the details. But the point is to try to make sure that the citizens that have a house that was under the city jurisdiction stays like it was. Because we want to be fair and whatnot, because there is some differences. But I think having them match, as long as we're not applying that outside, because I think there's a whole bunch of township residents and whatnot that would kind of scream bloody murder, and I don't think we want that. So, okay? It's a little bit of background.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, thank you. Any other questions for Mitch? Yeah, Commissioner Rich?
Yeah, Mitch, during the ETA discussions, the Bismarck, explained that we're revamping our ordinances to make them more in line with county ordinances, so they're similar, because we have some more restrictive ones. So how's that gonna play out if we take the existing city ordinance and we're gonna have to go back and redo this again after the city,
Their new ordinances would not affect these transfer areas?
no, right, they wouldn't be, you're correct.
But as long as you're on that subject, and I'd like to give you a little heads up on that, commissioners. I had a conversation with Mitch earlier today regarding, there was one section that I think was pointed out with the city information during our meetings, that on like an 1.5 acre lot, the size restriction for an accessory building, I thought, was different between the county and the city. And in that case, the county's 4%. So if you're just adopting the 4% that the county has, the city actually had a higher square foot number in the city ordinances than the counties at that one little point. That acre, I think it was like 1.5 acres. And so I would urge caution with going backwards, because one of the things we've noticed, and of course I've been on the City Planning and Zoning Commission since January of 2008, that people aren't opposed to the ordinances, but a lot of people have come in and requested a special use permit for an oversized accessory structure. And so I think we both, as commissions, need to look at upping that size, because flat out, people have more toys. They got more camper, more boat, more ATVs, snow removal equipment, and all that. That I think we should be looking at upping that size, because we have never denied a special use permit for an oversized accessory building. And I think somebody coming in and having to make, I don't know, what is this, $750 permit request, it's just, I mean, because we recognize the need for larger buildings, because it's absolutely in our best interest for people to preserve their campers, their boats, their everything, because it preserves investment and preserves property value and the whole thing. And plus, it makes yards look so much nicer, then they're nice and clean, so.
Mr. Chairman, can I
Yes,
follow
yeah,
up on it?
Commissioner
On
Rich,
page
yeah.
42, we've got it yellowed and red, so I think it's new, but it's not the same as the city, and it refers to that 4% you're talking about, Commissioner Bittner. I think the city, inside city limits, we allow like 35% building coverage on a city lot. Does that sound right, Mitch? 35%?
No, that may be the total coverage of the lot.
Right.
Yeah, that figure on page 35 is. Or
42, page 42.
40, that's for the accessory building lot coverage.
Sure, it's 4%, okay.
Right.
But I mean, I'm with Commissioner Bittner here. If somebody wants to build a bigger building and the accessory building happens to be 6%, what do we care?
Right, yeah.
I mean, I don't know why
you
we
know-
want to grab these arbitrary small percentages and stick them in here.
I agree with you, Commissioner. That was the point in me bringing it up, is that a 4%, you know, I'd have to do some math, but 4% on an acre and a half really isn't a very big building. You know, and I'm asking myself, what difference does it make what size that person's building is?
Doesn't bother me.
I mean, generally speaking, like let's take my yard, for example. It's completely, I mean, it's surrounded, I'm so far enough off the road that anything that's not surrounded by trees, which is pretty much all of it, you can't see the building anyway. I mean, if I could afford to build a, you know, whatever size building, who gets hurt? You know? I think that there are restrictions that are part of covenants in some subdivisions that can apply and can answer that for those specific communities that are, you know, the subdivisions that have those type of covenants. And other than that, I mean, if you're out here and you've got a you know, whatever acreage, I mean, you know, you should be set back from the property line a little bit so fire trucks can get around there and all that. I think that's appropriate. However, you know.
All right, any other questions for Mitch? Or, yeah, Commissioner Rich?
Chairman, I got another question. It just kind of jumped out on me on page, I don't know, it doesn't have a page number on it. It has to do with bicycle racks and almost a
Under
full.
definitions?
Huh?
Under definitions?
Yeah. No, reductions and exemptions, bicycle racks, mixed-use parking. Draft number 1, it doesn't have a page number on it. It's more towards the back.
Let's see, what's
But
the-
anyway, we have more than a page of specifications on bicycle racks, and I'm
Oh,
going,
that's under
what's
parking.
with that?
Yeah.
Again,
It
be
just
honest
seems
with you.
excessive. Is that what the city has for bicycle racks?
Mr. Chair, yes,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah.
Yeah, because I think you said most anything, or most of the stuff that's yellow is from the city ordinance, right?
We are now in urban area. This is not for the city of Baldwin. All these changes are the purpose of these areas in the ETA. There's 9 districts in there that we don't have.
Yeah, I'm not, excuse me, can I follow up? I'm not blaming you, Mitch, but I'm just looking at this, and as a city commissioner, we need to address this bicycle rack issue. Do not require the user to lift a bicycle. Do not bend wheels or damage other bicycle parts. do not contain protruding elements or sharp edges. It just goes on and on and on about this bicycle rack, and I don't, it just seems ridiculous.
Yeah, I think,
I've lived here, I'm sorry.
oh, go ahead, yeah.
I've lived here most of my life. I've never seen a bike rack out in the country. Either,
Yeah, so, yeah, if anybody, so
That's a
anybody got any
hitching rack,
questions
you know.
for Mitch, before we actually open the hearing? Yeah, Commissioner Streifel, yep.
Mitch, can you clarify what we're looking at? Anything that's highlighted is the possibility of it's city and it's possibly going to be added to the urban area of our ordinances? Is that what the yellow is? And then there's some yellow with a line through it. What's with that? And then what's with the red and highlighted? What's the difference in those things?
Okay, the strike-throughs, the yellow, I highlighted that yellow strike-through on the first section, accessory buildings. That was the original of our original Burleigh County ordinances. The first section, but I moved them to different articles, different sections in this same article. For instance, H through H, all the way up to J was moved to section 2.2.C, section J down to 8, J2 was moved to section 2, item 2E. So,
So the red,
This is pretty serious.
the red,
I mean,
Mitch,
this
is, the
pretty
red
low.
text,
What- yeah.
that's a
We need to be
comment
able
from
to
me.
sit down and
red,
look at
red,
it.
oh,
Yeah.
okay,
What's new.
gotcha.
Say that again?
The red, if it's red, that's a comment for, to be open for discussion. For instance, on page 41, you see it next on the 40, I have 41, it says moved to home occupancy,
Okay.
occupation.
I get that part, but then flip the page to 42. And at the bottom, 2C, that's not a comment, that's something else. Yeah.
But it's the red text highlighted yellow.
That highlights the 4% of the accessory buildings.
Okay.
That is in this new section.
Okay, and then the one about customary domestic pets, that one is on the next page, that one is,
That is to be determined.
That's-
Those
that's
are-
something that-
I want those open for discussion.
oh, okay, those are ones that
That we really
that you potentially want to look at some changes on.
have
Okay.
made some open discussion, to be determined is what I
Sure.
put on that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Yeah, Commissioner
Well,
Conley?
and part of this is that the 95% of the residential dwellings that are going back to the county, but then there was a motion at the city commission when all 10 of us were there that the city's also going to make the 5% remaining. They want those ordinances to be the same, so they're treated equally as we continue to evolve this discussion down the road. And I've been in discussion with some state representatives, so we can answer the question of regulation with representation. I've talked to Commissioner Bittner about that, so this is an ever-evolving thing that we're trying to be the first community to answer that question that a lot of the citizens in both the county and the city have been asking for a long time. That be fair, Commissioner Bittner?
Absolutely.
Okay, I think we're good on questions for you, Mitch. Thanks for clarifying some of these things, just so
Okay.
we know how to think about them, how to address them.
Right.
And if we have nothing else, we will now, Commissioner Small, yes.
So, in here, how do we make changes to these, or?
Yeah, so we'll end up opening the hearing. We'll hear from the public, and then once we actually close the hearing, then we'll actually move into discussion and action and any changes, proposals, anything like that we want to do. So we'll have to do that after the hearing.
Are we gonna need a
And-
hearing after we're done with it, though?
There will have to be that
Yeah,
also.
there'll have to be
correct?
another.
Yeah,
Because the hearing right now, this,
yeah. This will be the initial hearing. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, we will open the public hearing, And so if anyone would like to speak regarding any of these changes to, let me get flipped back here, changes or amendments, excuse me, to Article 3, 5, 7, 10, and 13 as specified in the packet, and 19 as specified in the packet, please approach the lectern, tell us who you are, where you're from, and sign in.
Hello, I'm Robert Field again, and I would sign in, but as at most of the county meetings I go to, there's nothing to sign in on, and I don't want to scratch the counter.
Bring your own paper next time.
Well, it's the same every time. I mean, I've gotten the commissioners several times on that one. And I'm usually like the fifth person to speak, and they all just don't tell them there's no paper up here.
We're just looking for your signature,
So,
for later. Yeah.
I read through a lot of that,
Yeah.
and I can appreciate that some of it's highlighted. But I challenge any one of you to show me an alleyway out in the county. It's in your ordinance. This whole thing should be chucked in the circular file. This isn't protecting the public from anything. It's showing inordinate ignorance. Because most of this does not apply to anybody that lives 5 miles out of town. And that's back to my comment earlier. There needs to be a separation between the city and the county. The reason we move out of town isn't because it's cheaper. You go out of town and buy 16 acres. But yet, we fought the ETA issue to get out of the city. Now we turn around and buffoons want us to adopt all the same rules as the city. Well, then put us back in the city. I mean, how is that any different? But I challenge anybody to read that whole packet and take notes and then come back here and say, intellectually, this is a brilliant transcript of what we should do to the public. I wish George Carlin was still alive. He would read this and say, obviously, birth control has failed. Because whoever wrote that doesn't believe in freedom at all. Only weak men restrict other men. You'll never have a biker walk up to you and tell you what to do. He believes in your freedom. It's the weaklings in society that want to control every aspect of your life. And you can let that sink in as you read that. And that is the truth. So, hopefully you give enough time that the public gets to see this, because I guarantee they don't know these ordinances even exist. Otherwise, this place would be overflowing to the street. And I encourage everybody that watch, the 6 people that watch this video, to call and get a printed copy of it. We might hit 10, but it usually isn't very high. Reruns of Mod get a better calling than these county meetings.
All right, are there any questions for Robert? Yeah, or Commissioner Streifel, excuse me.
Mr. Field, what would you suggest at this point that we do?
I would say you need to have a citizens group sit and look at the entirety of it. Forget the fact that some of it's red and some of it's yellow. I mean, I didn't read the entire thing because I was thoroughly frustrated believing we even have this. But there's probably a spot in there where if you are driving your car and you see a horse, you have to hide behind a bush and not honk your horn. I mean, in Boston, that's still a regulation. That's probably why you don't see horses in Boston anymore. So, I mean, most of that makes no sense for Burleigh County as a county. As the city, yes, but that's where we're getting polluted. We're taking city guys and putting them on county boards. Well, they shouldn't be making decisions for people that live past city limits. And to say that the people that just got out of the ETA under this agreement will still follow city rules, that's asinine. That's ridiculous. You should grandfather everybody up to the day of the agreement, and if they want to build something new, then they have to follow the county rules. But to think you need to empower more rules makes no sense whatsoever. But bureaucrats like to justify their job. So if we make more regulations, we have to hire more of them, where I'm of the opposite opinion. I think we should make them show us their hands, and every single one that doesn't have at least one callus should be fired. We would have so much office space we could lease out most of the government buildings. But that's my opinion of what we should do with it. Have the public look at it and come back and say, these are all just garbage. Because this is for the whole county. This isn't for the little, strip around Bismarck. I mean, this goes clear to Steele, up to Wilton. I mean, it's a big area. And you're restricting how many cattle you can feed in there. What the hell's that about? I thought we were an ag community. But that's in there. That's how I got 30,000 chickens now. I mean, not that I do, but holy balls. So yeah, I think the whole thing should be redone. Because somebody copy and pasted something that didn't even apply to this county. I mean, to put this in perspective, we have engine brake signs out on 66th, and this is back to incompetence. They're in the acceleration lane, not the deceleration lane. Anybody that's ever seen a semi come up to a stop sign, when you're coming up to the stop sign, you turn on the engine brake. When you leave the stop sign, you don't run the engine brake. Where do we have the signs? The wrong side of the road. So you hear them run the Jake brake constantly there. Well, there's no sign saying they can. It's saying they can't do it while they're accelerating. I mean, seriously. We have things like that we can't function or get right, and we're worried about adding more regulations. Let's get better at what we're doing now. Just leave people alone. Anybody here ever watched the documentary on the Killdozer? You should watch it. That started as a planning and zoning enforcement. They told him he had to do sewer and water, and it was going to cost him a ton of money. Then they started fining him per day. And then he bought the biggest Komatsu bulldozer he could. And then he drove it into Granby, Colorado, and pushed down every house and every business of everybody on the council and the zoning. Smashed the town flat. That's the truth. Everybody should watch that. When you have regulations and you push people, and you push, it's like when you're little kids, which I'm older than some of you. Not me. Well, I know. But when I was a kid, the big thing was you'd shove the other kid down and start tapping on his chest. Well, I tell you what, they didn't get more than 5 taps and I was swinging. Well, that's the thing that zoning seems to be doing more and more in the country, is just coming up and just can't leave people alone. You know, like your oversized buildings in the ETA. Why don't, how many of those have we heard in the last year?
A lot.
And we know it's an extra $700, but nobody steps in and fixes it. That's a violation to the citizen. But we're all complacent. Well, except for me. Everybody that knows me knows I'm going to show up and say something.
Any questions? Any more questions for Robert? Yeah, Commissioner Rich, yes.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Robert, you were beating up on the city guys being on the county zoning commission, but you're a county guy sitting on the city zoning commission. How does that?
Once that red line disappears, I won't be.
Oh, okay.
I was put on there because you guys are pushing us around in the ETA.
So as a city guy, I'm not a big fan of a lot of rules. I don't like a lot of rules. I like liberty. I like people to be able to do what they want, as long as they're not affecting their neighbor. That's my philosophy on it. So let me just set the record straight on this. But I want to ask you about this one. For the purpose of calculating the number of horses allowed under this section, a miniature horse shall be deemed the equivalent of 0.66 of a horse. Is that okay with you?
Well, I really think it's still a horse. I mean, I can't imagine riding a horse that's only 2/3. I don't even know how you put a saddle on something. Does it have 3 legs, or does it just have 1.5? Or yeah, yeah. I mean, things like that are truly ridiculous.
We're getting into the weeds.
You know, but I still think we can do way better, and I still think you have to think about the people that live 50 miles out. You know, the difference in ordinance, if I wanted to build a big building in Bismarck, or the ETA, they want a frost footing, they want 16 on center, they want a concrete floor. If I'm going to park my tractor in there, I don't need a concrete floor. If I'm going to let a cow run around in there, I don't need a concrete floor. So just the difference in the two ordinances right there is going to add $100,000 in the build of your building. So are we going to adopt that ordinance too, so every farmer can't build a pole barn anymore? I mean, where do you stop?
That's true.
Yeah, Commissioner Bittner.
Some really good points, Bob. One of the things that I want to point out is that I think I mentioned earlier that I don't want this going any further than what was already existing. And that has to do with the map that we were showing earlier. Because my goal and my position is that this is not going to apply to anything that it didn't apply to before. Now, I don't know how we get there, and that's my point in bringing it up, is because the citizens in the ETA were already under this. This is not a new thing. And that's my concern, and why I'm making a big deal out of it, is so that we can make those kind of corrections that are needed and do away with the fluff and the stuff. But I don't want to see it go enlarging it to we have a lot of areas in Burleigh County that have nothing to do with the ETA. And I can't imagine putting a whole bunch of regulations like the thing with cows and chickens and whatnot on somebody out in, yeah. And I don't think that's our goal. So I think this commission understands exactly what you're saying. And I want to thank you for coming in and.
Well, but I think a lot of the past history is a problem too, though. It ain't just what's highlighted.
Right.
I mean, there's no reason to describe sodomy and areolas and everything else in our building zoning.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the purpose in that?
Good point.
So you start reading through there, you go, and this is public. I mean, a little kid could go online and read this. You really need to explain sodomy and masturbation, and which is in there. I've never heard of planning and zoning being concerned with masturbation. That is really stepping out of the venue. I mean, if we're going to go that far, I'm going to say what I've said before. We should not allow one more church to be built, because the only thing that churches draw are sinners. So that makes perfect sense that if we're going to be worried about everything else, we can't do churches now. If not, tell me who goes to a church if they aren't sinners. So we can be as ridiculous as we want to be. Or we can be realistic. I mean, in my opinion, if my neighbor on the left and my neighbor on the right, I have the highway in the front, a river in the back, if the two neighbors next to me don't care what I build, I should have to build it to code, I should have to get a permit, and that's it. You don't need to worry about my 0.66 of a horse. How's that got to do with zoning? I mean, it's like we've tried to put everything in the zoning.
Any additional questions for Robert? Yeah, Commissioner Streifel.
Mr. Field, in defense of the commission here, we did not come up with this. This just got sat in front of us. We've had it for about 9 days, so I agree that we do have a lot of properties in Burleigh County that are out of conformity right now, that are grandfathered in. And we don't do anything to go out there and search down problems and find out what we should fix and what we should leave alone. So I wish that we could back this truck up and have some sort of group that could have got together and went through this and compared things and made notes and figured out what should have been put in front of a public hearing before it was.
Yes.
But we're here
There-
now, so.
Yeah, Commissioner Bittner.
There is nothing stopping us from doing that.
Right. That's possible.
Nothing whatsoever. I really got to hand it to the members of this board and Bob, and that, you know, the conversations are very important. And I think from working with this board as long as I have, and as well as the City Planning Commission, we're making good progress along those lines. And I think the notion of trying to combine or make the city and the county more closely, you know, the size differences and all of those things all make sense. I do think, like I said earlier, it's too much for us to hammer out here in one meeting at one night, you know, because I've had it for the same amount of time. I actually had it earlier than you guys did because it was sent to me by staff. I haven't had a chance to read the whole thing either, and I'm a speed reader. So I'm not prepared to, I mean, obviously this is a public hearing and I want to hear what anybody else has to say on it. But I'm not prepared to move forward with anything at this point. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, Commissioner Conley.
This has been a good discussion all the way through because of what we mentioned before. A lot of citizens have asked, they want regulation with representation. This, when we originally brought up the conversations, when the initial meeting for the educational piece, because a lot of people, even on the commissions, didn't totally understand what the ETA conversation was. And even I didn't know when they brought up the history of it. I knew about the authority being established in 1975. I knew about the governance being presented in 1977. 77's, when I think of that year, that's two things. That's the first time Star Wars came out, and I was 6. So that's a lot of history, a lot of ordinances and things that built up in governments. Usually they add more, they don't generally decrease. So this is an opportunity to where we can go back and revamp a lot of things, and we've made some progress in that. The home occupation, even in the city, we're the lightest one in 5 states now. And that was a 7 to 9 month process, and it wasn't very comfortable. So by having the uncomfortable civil discourse, hopefully we're starting to get it right where maybe other communities, they can struggle, and I'm okay with being the lead sled dog in that regard. So.
Well, but you look at what you just said, you know, just standing here looking at the assembly. Do we have anybody from Sterling that sits on the board? No? Do it.
Moffett.
They're not in our jurisdiction.
But if you look at the other cities that are in Burleigh County, we always connect the city of Bismarck and Burleigh County. We don't include the rural towns. So, you know, you think about it, that isn't equal representation to the people that are out. We just know Bismarck's the biggest town, and that's what we connect to. But the county is way bigger than just Bismarck.
Yeah, Commissioner Streibel. Yeah.
If you watch the last few planning and zoning meetings, I have been begging people from outside the ETA to come and apply to sit on this commission. And I think part of the problem is we haven't had a whole lot of those people apply to sit on this commission. So we are very unrepresented, for lack of better words, for people who live outside the ETA. For a while, there was just 2 of us. 2 out of 9. So I do agree with that, but part of the problem is we don't have the applications.
Or you could go where all the sinners hang out and talk to them on Sunday, maybe get one.
Any other questions for Robert? Okay, seeing none, appreciate the feedback, thank you.
Have a good night.
Anyone else like to speak on this, in this public hearing regarding amendments to Article 3, 5, 7, 10, 13, and which one am I missing? 14? 17? 19. Anyone else like to speak in this public hearing? All right, before we close the public hearing, just seeing how few people that we've had turn out, how large our book is in front of us of all these changes, I would like to entertain a motion to continue this hearing to our next meeting.
So moved.
All right, is there any discussion on the motion? I guess, is there anyone that would like to have any things that we would like to have in addition to this at our next meeting, if we're gonna continue this? Or is this enough
Well,
for us?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner
Go
Conley.
ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Well, I was actually going to ask Commissioner Bittner, is this something that you discuss at a county commission to what a committee might look like in order to develop it out? Can it be something that you reach out to the outskirts a little differently versus here at the planning and zoning? What's
Right.
the most appropriate way?
Well, actually, I had a conversation with Mitch about that earlier, to get this information out to the townships, for example. Because as you know, and as everybody should know, Burleigh County does not have zoning jurisdiction in those individual little towns or in most of the townships in Burleigh County. Most of the townships in Burleigh County have retained their own zoning ordinances, so nothing that we do would apply to them anyway. And I don't want to see us expanding, like I've said, zoning ordinances into the unorganized townships. I don't know, what are 9 of them or something?
We have jurisdiction in 16 townships.
16?
Yep.
Okay, so out of the total number, we have jurisdiction in 16. But I don't think anybody from those townships is interested in us doing, talking about chickens. And I think that would be a gross overreach on our part, and I think we'd have a lot of trouble because of it. But I have asked Mitch to get this information out to the townships that are within that ETA area. Because my goal, and Bob is correct, that as it is right now, this would apply to all of those townships. And I simply don't want that, and I can tell you I won't support that at the Burleigh County Commission either, because that's not our intent. Our intent here was, first off, the citizens in the ETA were already under this. So that's nothing, this is not new. This is not putting anything new on those citizens in that small area that we've talked about. And that's why I mentioned the map earlier, because that map that is part of the agreement between the city and the county for the jurisdictional area is only what I think we should be talking about. Any notion that this is going to apply to anybody else that wasn't already under this, I think would be a gross mistake. And so the idea of I think it would be a great idea if staff could work it out to, first off, get this out to all of the unorganized townships. And that's hard because they don't have a township board. You see, we're sitting here, and with except for the members of the commission that are here because they're city commissioners, the rest of us are here because we are representing, we are either elected or appointed to be here. And as such, we are the representatives of those people. And I think I have a lot of confidence in this board based on the work we've done over the years. And I would love to have more input, but I don't think we're going to hear much different than what we've just already heard. I think that's a pretty good example of what the attitude would be out in Burleigh County, North Dakota.
So, Commissioner Bittner, can you help us as to where did this come from?
This came directly out of city ordinances,
This is copy and paste.
with the exception of his red print where he says, look at this or some things you might want to check. This is, that's why I brought this.
Who pulled these certain
This
things
is-
out of the city?
Staff.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, yeah.
That's what this book is. This is City of Bismarck zoning
So
ordinances.
is there a way to back it up before this so that we don't have to incorporate a lot of this?
Absolutely, that's
Of the-
entirely up
you're-
to us.
You're asking
That's
of
in-
the yellow,
Right,
or of the
like,
highlights,
can we-
basically?
Can we back it up and start over without?
Absolutely, we can.
having to
We can do
consider all
anything,
this?
we can do anything we
Yeah,
want.
Commissioner Conley, yeah.
And let me interject on it a little bit. I think Commissioner Risch, you were alluding to it a bit, is that we're currently re-going through all of our Title 14. It's been an 18-month, could be as long as a 2-year process. So a lot of these things might not be in the new, and we're in flux. So the existing is what we have to follow. It's kind of like when we talked about existing ordinances as far as solar or those type of things. You had to go on the current until the new is adopted. So the fact that, I mean, some of the letters that go along with zoning, like PUD, those designations might be changing at the city level depending on what that new look looks like. So it's kind of catching us funny a little bit, but this is an opportunity. I mean, they're very large documents, both at the county side and the city side. So it might be an opportunity to where we take a microscope to it and really try to find out what's fair for our citizens.
Right.
On both sides of the border.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a reason I didn't bring the county zoning ordinance, because I'm just carrying this whole, this whole thing. I think because it's all new to all of us, though, and because this already applied, it'd probably be best if we spent the next, between now and the next meeting, actually digging into that ourselves. And I know that's going to take time. But I think, give ourselves that time. And I don't know that we'd be even prepared to do anything except talk more about it at the next meeting. I don't see because of the fact the city's making changes as well, and I think staff, they would behoove both of us, the city and the county, to direct that our staffs work together. I think that's on us. Because at the end of the day, it really does apply, because a large part of the existing ETA didn't get turned over to the county. And we need to make sure that we're having those cross conversations that address everybody.
Commissioner Patrick.
I'm just wondering if maybe we shouldn't put together a working group that would include some members of this board and some probably private citizens, and begin to work on this. And I agree with Commissioner Bittner. I don't think we're going to have anything ready by next meeting, but at least we could begin to work on it and revise or add whatever we need to add so it does apply properly to the ETA area that we were talking about.
So how would we go about forming that, do you think? I mean, because nobody, as Bob laid out, people don't know we're even talking about this. We're not exactly on everybody's mind.
How did we grab all the people, and I think Commissioner Stripley, you were in on this pretty heavily with the agritourism piece. How were those people recruited?
It was a volunteer basis.
Okay.
That staff asked for recommendations and volunteers. I guess I would recommend that we, I don't know how we go about it, but I would kick this back. I think it's premature. I think we have to see what the city's gonna be doing. I think that we need to start, I know there's been a lot of work that's gone into this, and we do appreciate it, but I'd like to see this scratched. I'd like to start over. I'd like to have a group from the city and the county that can get together with our constituents and put our heads together and come up with something that makes sense, because this is never gonna get through.
Mr. Chair?
So, yeah, Mitch, go ahead.
Hang on a second, though. It's already through. I mean, this is already in place.
For city,
Yes.
Right.
In the ETA.
ETA.
Okay, this is not new. Don't, this is, And it wasn't us. I mean, this is over time, this is what the people in the ETA were living under. And we're sitting here having this big conversation about why it's such a problem. And maybe now you get a little clearer idea of why it's such a big problem to the citizens.
Right, but I don't see
I mean, we don't-
moving it. I don't see putting any more people under any of that. So I just don't like the idea of even considering this for anyone outside of city
No,
limits.
No, we're not. I think I've been very clear that I'll never support putting that on additional, like the unorganized townships, where that we do have the jurisdiction. Because that just wouldn't be fair, you know, they didn't buy their places and suddenly they wake up and now we're under city ordinances that were adopted by the county. That's not the point here. The point here was to try to make sure that people understood we're not doing a wholesale change on stuff without going through these normal processes and whatnot.
How do we go forward in
Yeah,
a thoughtful and
I think
intentional way?
In regards to that, I think that before we do anything with volunteer groups and whatnot, we have staff, both city and county, and we have a county planning commission and a city planning commission. And that's our job. That's not that we need to have a whole team of Bobs come in and tell us what to think. We live here. We're sitting here and we're saying, well, I can't support that. Well, that's because we're doing our job, representing the citizens that put us here. So I think between now and the next meeting, it should be up to the commissioners and certainly anybody you talk to for assistance or share this with people. I think, and that's what I did, that's why Bob's here, because I shared it with him and he goes, whoa. And he's on the city planning commission and he didn't even know this. So, before we have a room full of people that's as wound up as Bob is, let's do what our job is. And that's to go through this, I
So
think.
we should have had a public meeting and discussed this before we opened it up for public hearings, so that we could have got the people here.
Well, shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Right.
We're on a timeline here. What we got going on. First off, this is already in existence, like I said.
How many properties are we talking about? Does anybody have?
A lot. Well, we got 320
320 subdivisions.
320 subdivisions.
350 subdivisions
So-
that are,
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if the number was accurate, but when the ETA discussion came up, somebody said that there was around 12,000 in the ETA. So 95% of 12,000 is what your ballpark can be, because only 5% is remaining of the established, developed residences.
and
So
it's a
that'll get
lot.
you close.
But that's, I guess I could be beating on a horse here, or beating on a dead horse, but that's why people were so wound up about this ETA. Because now you're sitting here and you're learning it for the first time, but this is the way it's been.
I do understand that.
Okay.
I just don't
so
understand
we-
moving it outside, the people who are outside of that area.
We're not. I will never support that, and I can't believe that would pass the county commission.
Mr. Chairman, how
Yeah.
do we proceed? Do we just discuss it again at the next meeting and have staff at the city and county maybe do some revisions? What do you suggest? Chairman Bittner.
I would actually suggest a special meeting of this board. Allow some time, and you can pick, a couple weeks or something, and have this group get together again and have an open public meeting again, and we could advertise it as a meeting about this and get it out to the public. He didn't have much time to send this to townships today. Yeah, he was looking for addresses and whatnot, and so I think the more we can get the word out to the folks, and then have another meeting of this board, then we can talk about, do we want to do a focus group or whatever, but I want to remind you that is our job. You're actually appointed and elected to be here doing that.
Yeah, Commissioner, Mitch, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, what is at play here is on March 1st, this jurisdiction will be handed over to us.
Right, that's why it was.
We do not have any urban standard ordinances for these areas. So the idea is they are under Burleigh County, Bismarck's jurisdiction now. We could adopt their complete ordinance for this same area, so it doesn't change a bit. And that would give us time to create a change only to the ETA areas. This would basically be a separate district than the rest of Burleigh County.
It actually, it would change though too, because the things that the ETA folks are living under are the highlighted pieces, not the non-highlighted pieces, so that would change for them. They would have additional,
That's true.
actual additional restrictions.
No, these would not be additional. These were changes to the original of their ordinances to fit Burleigh County style as far as urban standards. They would not be
Okay.
additional, brand-new set of ordinances for the ETA.
Okay,
These-
then I
But I
misunderstood,
think
but
he's-
the non,
I think he's kind of right about
the
that.
non-highlighted stuff is
Yeah.
already in the county, and we're adding the highlighted stuff that the ETA people are already under, so technically, the ETA people now they're gonna have to be under combined, they actually get more rules.
I think that's a fair statement. Because
Well,
that's literally what's.
It would be limited, it's limited because we do not have those urban standard ordinances. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Right, but if
Yeah.
you're becoming under Burleigh County, he's correct, because you become under Burleigh County zoning when you weren't under Burleigh County zoning, then the whole Marianne applies.
Yeah, Commissioner Small, yeah, you had something?
Why do we need to reinvent the wheel? Don't we have all these ordinances in the Burleigh County already?
No.
The,
What
well,
are we missing?
the
Well, we're missing everything
unhighlighted,
that's highlighted.
the unhighlighted pieces are in Burleigh County already. The highlighted pieces are
The cities.
City. right now.
Well,
So-
these people are basically in the county now, right? In
Yep.
the head- right? So
That's correct.
Yeah.
use what we got. Maybe we should be changing something or adding something instead of all this garbage.
Well, like the one, if I might,
Yep, no.
one of the things that was pointed out was that 4% on an acre and a half lot, because a lot of the people that we're talking about have acre and a half lots in these 350 subdivisions, where if you suddenly put county zoning on that, and don't look at the city thing, they're gonna go backwards in square footage. And I don't want that. I want us to move a little forward on that, so people can keep their stuff indoors and all that. See.
Yeah, I
So
think,
just leaving it, just plopping the county stuff on them in that one case, and I don't know how many more there would be. That's not a good thing.
No, but I mean, we could garbage 90% of this and change some of the things that we wanna change.
right, like the coverage
could.
percent,
We could.
percent and
That's a
things like
valid-
that, yeah.
Right.
That's a valid-
I mean, it's like this dog thing here, right? I mean, who's gonna police whether or not you got 4 dogs? I'm not a dog person, but what are you gonna do? Send the Burleigh County Sheriff out there because the neighbor called in because the dog defecated on their lawn?
You got
and
5?
they said, oh, she's got 5 dogs over there.
Well, what about dog kennels? We actually have a lot of dog kennels out there. They have 50 dogs.
Yeah, Commissioner
special
Conley,
use
yeah, go ahead.
Well, just throwing it out there as the conversation evolves, and that is that part of the discussion ran around state plumbing code as far as right on the border of the city. So March 1st is going to come up on us quick. I see you nodding like, where's he going with this? But, and it's a little nuanced because we're also having this dual conversation. A lot of it's going to come up in 2027 legislative session. But subdivisions or homes right on the border, and that if they petition in, I don't know what that looks like, or if they decide to come in, there is a difference between city services versus rural services. There's also the water districts, and there's little nuances there that go along with it. But somehow take that into consideration to where not huge changes from what they're currently existing under until we get some of those nuances, but everybody else is considered in a different lens. And properties any new properties wouldn't have to abide by it. Just something that can be considered just so we're not stepping into a thing to where state law ends up being a problem.
I think we should try to schedule a special meeting and invite as much as possible citizens from some of these unorganized townships and whatnot. And I don't know how we go about doing that.
Well, I think if we bring in the unorganized townships, I mean, just to kind of devil's advocate it here, I'm not sure what we're gonna hear. I think what we're gonna hear is, well, I don't want any of the highlighted stuff, just leave the non-highlighted stuff. I just want that. I'm just kind of thinking about like, well, what are we gonna hear? I
Okay,
don't
so
think
if-
anybody in unorganized
Right.
township wants any additional regulations, yeah.
And so if we're limiting anything that we're doing here to the map,
Right, then it changes, you're right,
yeah.
yeah.
You know, I'm, since this stuff already exists, changing it for the benefit of the citizens that are on that map or whatever seems to be a good goal.
And if we are gonna have a separate district, then it's almost like, we almost say, well, take all the highlighted stuff and take out the non-highlighted stuff, and now in the, what used to be the ETA, you have the same rules. Just-
Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman?
yeah, Commissioner
Mr.
Rich.
Chairman, if we don't pass it at all, the people that that were in the ETA and no longer in the ETA, if the county rules are less restrictive, what effect will it have on them? It shouldn't have any effect on them.
It would make them happy.
Mr. Chair.
All right,
yes,
so if we don't pass it at all, it'll make them happy, and
Yeah.
what kind of violations are we talking about?
Mitch, go ahead if, yeah.
Because they met the original ordinance's standards when the city of Bismarck developed these properties, allowed to develop these properties. We have nothing that can be applied to them. Nothing.
But the
Anything
question
going
is-
forward is what you're saying.
Going forward.
But
Yeah,
my-
correct, yeah.
I think the question is, what's the harm?
Yeah.
You know?
And I think
How
what
could we-
you're getting at is that these people are in the county now, and until you're in the city, you shouldn't
So
have
they're in the
city
county, and
rules,
they
right?
already were subjected to more stringent rules.
Correct.
Okay, so they built and did their things under the more stringent rules. If we don't pass this, they're under more lenient rules. And I just don't understand why we need to pass it at all.
That was my point.
Yeah, go ahead, Mitch, Mitch, you got
The-
something?
Yeah.
You have to
The
have
only
guys.
reason in having the conversation, if I might, is simply because the citizens are already under this, and where do we go from here?
That's correct.
And now, if it's a consensus of this commission to do that, that's great. Really, that would flip
Yeah,
my switch.
and Mitch, you had something?
Yeah, Chairman, Mr. Chair, it would be my recommendation to keep these same ordinances in place that the city had for the ETA areas on a temporary basis until we can have time to go through each one. Have a focus group go through each one and see what can be changed and reduced or restricted, removed. We don't have time to create a focus group and have something in place by March 1st. There are tremendous changes that are going to, for Burleigh County on this actual zoning. When you say, why don't we just remove all their original ordinances, put Burleigh counties in, there's not the same development standards that they have. How could you follow the same development standards as an R10 subdivisions, which are very tiny lots, and we don't have anything like that. And it's how do you issue a building permit for something that's designed for Burleigh County and you're in a smaller design subdivision?
Yeah, so anything under, I forget what is R2? Is it 1 acre?
The minimum lot, yeah, R2 is, you could get down to 20,000, but it has to be a PUD. We have the minimum size lot is 65,000 square foot.
Okay,
And
currently,
that's currently in Burleigh County.
yeah.
So
Okay,
if somebody comes to get a building permit and you're working with a 20,000 square foot lot, how do you issue that? How do you come
and
up with?
right now in the county, 20,000 square foot lot would be PUD, it wouldn't be R2.
Yes, exactly. We
Correct.
have nothing in place.
But
So
we
it would be
already
my
allow PUD at the 20,000 in that range.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
It would be my
I just wanna
recommendation to consider keeping the same ordinances in place while this group, we could have this group have special meetings for that, or we could have a focus group on each one of these articles and work through them, because that's one of the reasons why many of those people wanted out of the ETA, because they're over restricted. But we have to have something in place in the interim. We have nothing there. I mean, we'll have nothing. It could be applicable.
Yeah, so Commissioner Bittner, when you were talking about the map, just going back to that map, that would mean that we would have to, in our zoning, we would have to create just this separate district, call it whatever you want, former ETA. And we would say then, because if we did that, I would say, then I would agree with you, Mitch. We could say, all right, for now, just take all the highlighted stuff, and in that new district that we just created, here's your stuff. Nothing changed. Outside of that district in the county, unhighlighted stuff, here you go, nothing has changed. We can look at, I really think, I agree with the accessory building and coverage and all that stuff. Yeah, I agree. That we can treat that separate to this. But that, to me, would get us covered, and all we would have to do is create a new district that conforms with that map and say, here's your rules, and they haven't changed. That covers us. Now, in the future, if we say, yeah, we want to back that down, and now in that district, say, kind of with what Commissioner Rich was saying, oh, now we want to change your rules going forward, and we want to have you have this, have the county rules that are in place, we could do that in the future. But it sounds to me like the easiest way would be create a new district and say, here's your same rules for now. Am I oversimplifying this or not?
Well, they keep the zoning districts the same, just be kind of an overlay, basically, of those same districts that are in the city of Bismarck. We wouldn't change them, but we would have an overlay where we can apply these ordinance to those.
Right, but not pushing,
changing
but
each-
not shoving the county stuff
Absolutely not. That
from
was not-
outside of the district onto those people,
Right.
because then, like I say, then now they just doubled their rules.
Or
Yeah.
reverse, send
Or
the
going
city standards
the
out
other
to the
way,
county,
or
yes.
putting the city stuff outside.
Out of the county, yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
no,
okay. I understand. That answers my question. Appreciate it. Yeah, Commissioner Conley.
Since time's of the essence, say Commissioner Bittner, because you and I have been in this conversation a lot longer, and I don't know if we'd probably have to ask the city commission to make a 5-minute decision, call a special meeting or whatnot. But if you and I, Mitch, and say one of the staff from the city went through, and what's the ridiculous that doesn't really apply anymore because some of these things are so old, and we can get rid of those right off the top and leave the stuff that's up for negotiation so we can create that greater timeline.
I'd be okay with that.
And doing a district or a kind of a separate district, right?
Well, keeping
And
this
and
then
paring this down. Yeah.
say it's going to take longer than the March 1st, we can create the timeline at that point once we weed out the stuff that we don't want to talk about anyway.
I think construction-wise and everything else, we have time because nobody's putting a new subdivision right now. So I think, at least till spring, but I would certainly be okay with us getting together with staff and having some of those conversations. Don't mind.
Oh, yeah, Commissioner Streifel.
My concern is the ETA people who wanted out, and so I don't want to see them thinking now that we're putting them right back into where they just came out of. So we need to keep that in mind, and I think we need to have somebody from that area also to participate so that we don't stick them right back under what they wanted out of and end up with the same thing for them.
Well, the representation changed.
That's me.
You're right, yes, yeah.
Because I've been dealing with that ETA issue for roughly
Right.
20 years.
Long time.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Commissioner Small, yeah.
Well, so if I understand this right, everything in the red hatches went back to the county. And what worries me is that everything in the red line here, when the city decides to annex out a little bit further and this gets bumped out onto somebody that, because of the 4 mile, all of a sudden they're under a bunch of rules and all of this, because the city is still has control of everything in the ETA that is not the red hatch mark.
True.
At the same time, it's a negotiated boundary, it's not the 4 mile.
So,
So how does that get negotiated? Who negotiates it?
City and the county.
Negotiate
did
County
that
service.
commission and the
Yeah.
city commission, or?
Well, it's, Commissioner, you know, it wasn't negotiated.
That's correct. The state gives the city up to 4 miles. And we actually gave back 45% of our current ETA after many discussions, joint county-city commission meeting. 95% of the residents, I think, in the ETA went back to the county. 45% of the land went back to the county. But we have it, and the state has established it by statute, that the cities, depending on their size, have what we call an extraterritorial authority, because they're liable to expand, and they want to expand it in a way that would fit with the city. So that, Commissioner Bittner, you can add something to that, but
I don't have anything good to add.
Yeah, and I just as a question to kind of go on to your question here, the annexation out, the city to annex out, that, now, do landowners or developments, things like that, they have to ask for annexation, correct? The city just can't go grab.
I think almost always that's the case. They ask to be annexed in.
Right.
But I don't know that that's an absolute.
Okay. Commissioner Conley, yeah.
That's one of the things that came up during the discussions. Initially, when I got started into these conversations, 2015, around that time, state plumbing code came up as if somebody's septic system went down. I think two different measurements were thrown out, 200 meters or 300 meters. If their septic system failed, then they had no choice because of state plumbing code. It was forced annexation based on that. During the discussions, that was actually one of the nice things that came up is from the city, they said, we don't do forced annexations, and it would be up to those people if they wanted to replace their drain field and their septic system, depending on what they needed, or they could be annexed in at that time, even with those parameters in place. I never knew it was a choice before, but since it's on record, we got it on tape, we'll go with that. That furthered the conversation to the next step. Now, there was a term used when, a long time, and the Martin House south of the Burleigh tree was the key one. Their septic system failed, they ended up annexed in. It would have been $25,000 to replace the septic system. They ended up hooking up to city services. You'll just have to pay for the specialized hookup. There was a look back on all special assessments at the time. It was a $56,900 special assessment. And then there's some little nuances that changed that thing, but that's kind of where I got involved in representing citizens from a citizen standpoint and talking with them. Now, so there was this whole thing with the look back taxes, and there was a lot of heartburn over it that got into politics a little bit and got really uncomfortable for a lot of people for a long time. When we did the water utility rate changes in 2018, I wasn't on the commission at the time, but I was at all the meetings as an advocate. They couldn't change state law as it pertained to already developed properties. But any new development, they can make an ordinance in relation to that. So they moved away from the abeyance charges, and they moved to what they call a utility capital charge. So when those properties come into the city, if it's a residential property, it was, the numbers might have changed a little bit because I think they've had some recent negotiations on it. But at the time, it was $4,700 for residential. It's $24,000 for business, commercial. And so those look-back fees or abeyance are down to 6 districts, and it's only in relation to water resource district areas. Everybody else is under utility capital charges now. So now most developments that are coming on board, like say one of the developers says we want to annex this area in, they're paying those utility capital fees and we're seeing more annexations at that rate. And that's why I believe it's 47% versus the 53% on the raw land, the ETA versus not to ETA. But the already developed residences, that's why it's the 95. The 5% comes in with some of the areas like, say, around the airport. Everybody, I think common knowledge is the accident that happened where the UPS plane went down in Tennessee. Some of those people that are remaining in the ETA is some of that area that surrounds the airport, because how do you constructively anticipate some of those uncomfortable situations that we don't want to go through? So they retain that part of it. That's where we're going to work at the state level to make sure that we can answer the regulation with representation. You're new. It's a history that some of us know already, but most annexations at this point, they're saying no forced annexations. It's based on request, and that's what we're going forward with until an exception comes up, because those state laws are still in effect, and it could be applied to this. If that makes sense.
All right, so we have a motion and a second on the table to continue this hearing to the next meeting. And I'd say we'll move into a vote to continue this, and then we can move on to other things as necessary. So, all in favor of continuing this hearing to the next meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none. The hearing for the amendments on Article 3, 5, 7, 10, 13, and 19 will be continued until the next meeting of this commission. Any other business?
Motion to adjourn.
I think that's all we had, right? Yeah. Is there a second? Second. Okay, it has been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none, we're adjourned.